Hey students, welcome to Swell Academy. Today we're talking about some multi-step equations. So basically we've gone over one step, two step, we've gone over some evaluating expressions. So all this stuff kind of is going to come into play today. I put together a little warm-up here. I thought it was necessary because what it's going to do for us is kind of organize, when we're going through these multi-step equations, you're going to be dealing with some parentheses. You might be dealing with some CLT, or as I call it, combined like terms. Again, I like to make acronyms for a lot of things. It helps me. And some distributive properties. So all these things we're going to have to take a look at. So just as a little review, we've gone over this in other videos. What are some things that I need to do first here? Well, okay, I didn't list these in order of importance. Just kind of these are the things you're looking at, and through practice and kind of following the rules. So we're always looking inside the parentheses here, yes. But inside this parentheses, we have combined like terms. So that's something you want to do first. You want to look at this x and 2x. These are like terms here. So we want to look at this and kind of, like we said, combine 3x, and then we also have our 3 and 5 here. We could also consider those like terms. Remember, when you are combining like terms, you have a +3 and a -5. It's just like doing +3, -5. Let's say if you were doing in a column, and if you have different signs, what's the difference? The difference is 2. And we have more of a negative number, so that ends up being a -2 plus 10. So here comes into play that, okay, yeah, I have parentheses, I have combined like terms, right? I can combine a 2 and 10. Well, hold on, there is some parentheses, there is some distributive property we need to look at. So before we combine any more like terms and simplify, we need to distribute this 2. And to do that, we need to multiply this 2 to the 3x, 6x, multiply the 2 to the -2. A positive times a negative is a negative, plus 10. And I have 6x plus 6. This is how we would simplify something like this. And if I were to just attach an equal sign and a number to this, here we have a two-step equation. And it looks pretty easy once we get everything simplified, organized, combined. We work and, basically work with our parentheses and distributive properties. So now that we've kind of did a little review, a little warm-up of what some of the skills, tools that we want to have going into a problem like this, let's take a look at a problem like this. So, okay, we've talked about that parentheses problem. So in here, it seems as if we're okay. We don't have any like terms just yet. But if you do have, again, this is multiplication here. So here you have some addition, subtraction, but this multiplication, this grouping is what's going to hold the most strength, meaning this is what is applying most to these numbers. So you want to distribute this 2 before you do anything, and you end up with a 2x minus 16 plus x minus 12 is equal to -2x. Now, in the beginning, there are, I would say, each step that you do in any of these problems, you want to write this way. You could go back and find any mistakes if it doesn't work out in the end. As you get better, of course, you can start to maybe combine, do some steps on the left side, do some steps on the right side. But for now, we're just going to do one step at a time here. So we did some distributive property. Here we're going to do some combining like terms, our 2x and our x, and then our 16 and our 12. I'm putting similar shapes here so that we can identify like terms. 2x plus x gives us a 3x, and the minus 16 minus 12 gives us a minus 28. We want to do same thing on the right side here. Now, if I have two negatives, and I'm combining them, then I'm basically saying if I have two negative 2x's here and negative 3x's here, I have a total of negative 5x. This is how you combine like terms. You're not, what you'll see some students do is to combine like terms, they're going to add the 2x and add the 2x. Basically, they're moving the 2x on the same side of the equation, and they end up with 8 minus x. And this is incorrect, because you're not combining terms, you're moving terms. So be careful to combine them, not to do the same thing you would do to move it to the other side. And then again, we have the plus 8 and the 20, and that gives us a plus 28 here. All right, so color matching. Now, this brings us back to this problem we've talked about where you have letters on one side and numbers on the other. This is what we want to do. So you're always moving your letters to keep x positive, right? If you want to solve problems, you got to keep things positive sometimes. I'd say most of the time. So what I'm going to do is move this x to the left by adding the 5x. And keep in mind, if I had moved the 3x this way, I would have subtracted the 3x, and I would end up with a negative 8x. All right? Remember, I'm trying to keep the variable positive here. So 8x minus 28, this cancels out, plus 28. Now again, I could have done the combining or the moving all in one line, but I'm just choosing to do just a few more steps so you can see what's happening. If I move my letters to the left, I want to move my numbers to the right. And I've said that in other videos. I call it the miltos, move letters to one side, motto. Just a goofy way to remember something. That's okay though. That's going to help us organize our thoughts. 8x is equal to 56. I made this nice so it's not so much a fraction. Here we have the one-step problem, divide by 8, divide by 8. X is equal to 8. And here, remember, we've used distributive property, combine like terms, and, some getting x's together, keeping x positive, moving letters to one side, moving numbers to the other. So this is, your multi-step problem, which has a lot of, we'll say, challenges, or it requires a few understandings and skills. I also like this problem because it introduces these brackets here. A lot of times students will see these brackets and it'll add some confusion, but I could tell you that the brackets are basically the same thing as a parentheses. The reason they use the brackets is because we have parentheses here and they want to use another set of parentheses, but they're going to use brackets instead. These are the same. So we're working with parentheses here. I brought this problem into play so that we can kind of look at a few more skills we need to work with. Here we're working inside this parentheses. There's not much we could do, so we want to look inside this parentheses. And the one thing we could do to start, because this is multiplication, that's where you want to start in your order of operations. 2x plus 2x minus 10 plus 8 is equal to negative 24. And you can distribute this 2 to each piece inside, but again, we talked about CLT, that combine like terms, and could make things a little bit quicker if we just combine this x and 2x to a 3x minus 10 plus 8 is equal to negative 24. And now I want to distribute 6x minus 20 plus 8 is equal to negative 24. We have like terms here on the one side. So before I move this x, or before I move any of my numbers, again, we have a CLT. Again, it's just parentheses and the distribution and the CLT. We're trying to get this problem down to a two-stepper or a one-stepper. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to combine like terms, work with the parentheses, distribute till we can get something where we're just moving numbers and letters. So here we have the 6x minus 20 plus 8, okay, again, minus 20 plus 8, you're finding the difference. These numbers are different. One's negative, one's positive. So you find the difference of these two numbers, which is 12. And then what do you have more of? So if I sat here and drew a bunch of, or drew 20 negatives and 8 positives, we would find that at the end, canceling those, we would end up with a surplus with more negatives. You would see we would end up with a surplus of negatives. So that's a good math word, surplus. And then so we have a negative 12 equals negative 24. And again, this is how we get down to our two-stepper here. We'll do it all in one. Let's add 12 to both sides. Again, difference is 12. Take the sign of the bigger number. Put this over here. 6x is equal to negative 12. Divide by the 6. This is multiplying, so now we're down to a one-stepper, and a negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative. And again, we always like to check our work, so you could put this x, this negative 2, back in solve, kind of use some of the steps here. And let's see, this is going to take practice, some hard work. Okay, so just keep trying to working with the numbers. If it doesn't work out for you, work back. See if maybe a lot of times I look at students' work and I see the negative 20 plus 8 became a 28. Sometimes it's not even the strategy you used or the method you're working with or what you were doing first. It could just be a simple sign. So if it doesn't work out, and just work back and kind of look and try to find. And a lot of times I just like totally rewriting it and completing the problem again. A lot of times you'll find it. So sometimes a student will come up with this problem, show it to me, and say, okay, where did I go wrong? Let's say they had negative 5 over 2. And sometimes I'll look at it and it looks right. But then if I take the problem and just kind of solve it myself, I by using some of the skills I have, eventually identify, we missed a distribution here. That's what we wanted to do. So just keep looking at it, keep working at it. Thanks for stopping by.